panelists. And now the meeting is being recorded. I should have started once it got recorded. Reggie, you're just better at this than me. Okay, one more time. I'm Ashley Toll. I work in the Transfer Students Center. I'm class of 2020. I was a sociology major, currently applying for grad school. We can talk about that later. I love UCLA with all my heart. And with that being said, this is a student-run, student-attended panel where you can talk about anything and everything that you want to talk about. My one request is that you do not talk shit about the #1 public university in all of the land. You can have your thoughts, and I appreciate your thoughts, but this is a forum where we're going to be kind and warm and loving towards my first love, UCLA. The rest of the team is going to introduce themselves. We've got some great panelists. You know who you are, and even better moderators, they know who they are, and you can know because they have moderator in their name. Also, once this begins, feel free to type any questions that you have for us in the chat, or unmute yourself when the time comes, and we'll open it up for questions to everyone. Yeah, so Transfer Transitions panelists for today, go ahead and unmute yourself and introduce yourselves. Palik, you should start us off.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Palik Tolakian. I'm a rising senior in physiological science major. I transferred from Pasadena City College. Everyone here, raise your hand, PCC. So I am one of the, yes, Sato, you, my friend. So I am one of the transfer mentor leads. I was in the summer, and I will be one of the transfer student staff in the upcoming year. So I hope to see you everyone during our events. I can't wait to meet you all. And I love UCLA. I'm also true Bruin, whatever Ashley said.
I appreciate you, Palik. Steph Lopez, why don't you go next and introduce yourself?
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Stephanie. I'm a rising senior now. I'm an anthropology major, education studies minor, and Spanish language minor. And I'm not a transfer student, but I'm here supporting y'all. So yeah.
You didn't really need to tell us that you weren't a transfer student. You could have passed, but it's okay. We forgive you for not being a transfer. And if you've been following any of the events we've done so far, when I talk about my really good friend who's anthro major, education minor, that's Steph. She's also my part-time therapist and gym buddy. So just fun facts. Josue, you wanna go next?
Yeah, my name is Josue Ramirez. I'm a rising senior. I'm a physiological science major. I transferred from Santa Ana College. And also I'm a transfer mentor lead. And also I've been volunteering at the transfer center. So that's been like pretty cool. So nice to meet you, everyone.
Also, Josue forgot to tell you that his real name is the Magic Man. So if you've come into the transfer center and you've heard me screaming about the Magic Man, it's Josue. He also is a part-time magician. He does awesome tricks and makes me laugh. And he's just an all-around great guy. So thank you, Josue. And Sam Kaplan, if you would love going next, that would be great.
Of course. So hello, everyone. My name is Sam. I am what would be considered super senior. It's my 3rd year as a transfer student at UCLA. I'm studying material science. Also, I'm part of the TSC, the Transfer Student Center, as well as the TSR, the Transfer Student Rep this year. So I'm really excited about that. I transferred from Moore Park College, which is in California. I think that's it. I use she, her pronouns, by the way, and just really excited to hear all your questions, and yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Sam. Sam is also the most organized person I've ever met. I know that's irrelevant to talking about student stuff, but it's a fun fact about Sam that I really like. And I'm going to butcher your name, so I apologize in advance. Is it Kaori? Is that how you say your name?
Yeah, you got it right. Thank you.
Awesome. If you'd like to
Hi.
introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. So I'm Kaori, and I'm a transfer as well. I transferred from 3 different community colleges, Pasadena, Valley College, and Pierce College, and those are all in Southern California. And I transferred as first a biological sciences major, but I switched to molecular cell developmental biology major. So if anyone has questions on the switching of majors between the same life sciences or whatever, I'd be happy to answer that. And I'm also minoring in biomedical research, so if anyone has a question about that, I'm happy to answer.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And yes, I did say that Sam is the most organized person I've ever met. Oh, good. Sarah confirmed. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but Zuleika, I see you in there. And so if you'd like to introduce yourself quickly for the panel, because we might have questions for you.
Yeah, thanks for putting me on the spot, Ashley.
Anytime.
I'm not part of the panel, but I am observing all of the sessions throughout the week. My name is Zuleika. I am double majoring in political science and Latin American studies. So if you have questions about how to double major, I can help. I'm also a super senior, just like Sam. So this is my 3rd year at UCLA, and I'm also your transfer student representative. So if you have any questions about, student government, I'm here to help with that as well. So welcome, everyone. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. And Sarah Moe is our assistant director in the transfer center. And I'm sorry, again, I'm putting people on the spot, but I saw you in here, Sarah, if you just want to introduce yourself so everyone can see who you are.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Moe. I'm the assistant director of the Transfer Student Center, and I am just chilling in the chat answering questions. I will keep dropping links if there's like resources that y'all are talking about. Yeah, it's great to see you all. It's been so much fun seeing everyone in the sessions today, and I will definitely see you all week.
Cool. Thank you, Sarah. And thank you to everyone in here. Any of the moderators, if you have anything to say, feel free to chime in now or just interrupt me. You know how I roll. Let's get this started. Does anyone have any questions that they are just burning inside that they need to know about? Because I have lots of questions that I'm going to ask. But if you have questions, put them in the chat or just, unmute yourself. But I'll just start talking. Anyone on here that wants to tell me their favorite class? Steph, I know we took a really awesome class that has become one of my favorites, Education 191A. If you want to talk about that, or I can. It's a intergroup dialogue class. Steph conned me into taking it, but it was absolutely amazing, life-changing, some could say. So go for it.
Yeah, it's not really a traditional class where there's a board and you're taking notes. It's more of you sit in a circle and you talk about current issues and just maybe like just the whole world and education. Everything kind of just bleeds in. And you learn how to facilitate and how to talk about your, I want to say emotions, but that sounds very scary, but like just about empathy and how to connect with people. If you're it's an education class, so if you're in that education realm, I highly recommend. That was one part of it, and there's like a C part of it too, and I also took that class. Love that class. It doesn't even feel like a class. It's a little long, but it's amazing. It's a small class, maybe like 15 in there.
Yeah, 15.
And yeah, highly recommend. I think that's my favorite class that I've taken so far.
Yeah, it definitely changed my outlook on a lot of things. And it helped me learn how to talk about tough subjects that maybe, they're not very easy to talk about, but it really helped me a lot. Anyone else want to talk about their favorite class that they've taken?
I want to say that I really loved my major class, which was anatomy, but I know like you don't have to take that because it's really hard class. But I just like loved being in the lab and doing like all this dissection and everything. So if you are interested in that, you're looking like to applying to medical school or research in general, it's a very like helpful class to get like hands-on experience. But speaking of that, it's a hard class. So a fun class, another class that I really liked is career exploration in life sciences. I took it in the winter and it was very fun class. We did lots of activities. We knew like what are our characteristics, what do we like in a job, and we did like a bunch of quizzes online, not like quizzes, but actual personality tests and things like that. And then she gives us a lot of resources on how to find the best job for you, for your personality, for your interests. And it was a very easy class. You just chill and like make group projects and talk with people, get to know people, do informational interview. And it's also pass no pass, so there's no pressure to take in a good grade in that. So if you're a life science major and you're kind of lost, you don't know what to do, that's a very good class to take.
Cool. All right, thank you. Anyone else want to talk about their favorite class or favorite professor?
I can share.
Yeah, go ahead.
So during spring quarter, I took Community Health Science 179. And I think it could maybe like a better quarter to take it because that's like, I think, life skills for college students. And that class was very useful because they teach you some kind of like relaxation techniques, and also like how to have better communication with people, also how to solve conflicts, and also how you can like develop your ethnicity or something, like looking like reflecting on your ethnicity and all of that. It was very helpful. Also, we have like weekly logs, and it really helped me to get through the quarter because it was like going everything online. Also, the professor was very understanding and very kind, and also the TAs where they were really like amazing, and the professor was really nice. And also because of everything that happened during that spring quarter, he was very understanding. So I really liked that class. It was like one of the best classes I have taken at UCLA.
Oh, cool. Thanks for that. Another great class that I took was Women in Power in the Ancient World with Professor Kara Cooney. And I'm just gonna hot tip right now. If you don't know who Kara Cooney is, follow her on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you follow people. And she is amazing, just a very powerful, intelligent woman that she could talk about the flies on a pile of trash and I would sit and listen. She's just like, something about the way that she teaches, I'm just glued to the screen listening to her, or at the time, glued to the front of my chair listening to her. Kara Cooney, amazing, amazing person. Let's get to there's some questions popping up that I think we should ask. About, let's see, any suggestions on how to manage schoolwork, internships, and preparing for grad school, all while trying to maintain sanity? I will tell you that one thing that has really helped me to maintain my sanity is utilizing CAPS, which is Counseling and Psychological Services at UCLA. My favorite person there, her name is Christy. She comes into the transfer center for drop-in hours when the transfer center has in-person services. And I talk to her, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I talk to her like 4 times a week right now. But having someone that you can talk to that's just a non-judgmental person, that, you know, a therapist, having a therapist has changed my life. It's really improved my mental health and my clarity, and it helps me to just, you know, bring myself back and say, okay, you can do this, you're here, you're in it to win it, you're a Bruin. You know, that's helped. As far as staying organized, I find that writing things down, having a planner, really helps. Anyone else have, I mean, Sam, you're the most organized person I know. So if Sam has any tips on staying organized, that'd be great. Anyone else want to chime in on that? That'd be awesome.
Sure. So I do have a planner. I have one that I use, a physical one that I actually write in, and that helps a lot. But I also heavily utilize Google Calendar. It's been a huge help over the past 2 years. It helps keep me on track and reminds me of events. I know I sign up for a lot of things and I sometimes forget, but having that like notification reminder is really helpful. Yeah, passion planners. That's a good one, Zuleika. But I would also say something that you should try to get into the habit of doing is keeping yourself on track and kind of checking yourself every so often. So it's great to kind of write everything out, put everything in the Google Calendar, but you still have to kind of check up sometimes to make sure you're actually following through, and then maybe reevaluating like, oh, this week was really busy. I signed up for too many things. I took on too much. How can I do better next week? You know, how could I take into account my mental health, my other obligations, and how can I make things easier for myself in that way? So that's what I would recommend.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you for that, Sam.
I can add some stuff on that. So yes, I highly recommend using a planner. I also want to mention, like, other than like doing the regular weekly planner, I also have the passion planner, which I write my like, not like future, but like my long-term goals, which I go back and like make sure that I'm following, I'm staying on track of those, because it's really easy to get off track. I want to give some advices too. So my first quarter, I took heavy classes and I was commuting, I was working, my commute was long and I really struggled. So make sure to take care of yourself. I was compromising my sleep because that was my only option. So make sure you're putting yourself first. Take a break from working if you're working, or like it's okay to drop a class. UCLA will be kind of hard. I don't want to scare you, but I just want to tell you, like, don't compare it to community college. I know we say this a lot, but it is real. And I just want to say also, it is going to be online. So make sure to make group studies, maybe like in the chat section, just like try to connect with people, have a group meet, send the link, have everybody join. We did that in our classes this past spring and it really worked out well. We were like holding each other accountable to make sure everybody's following. And UCLA is a great community. Everybody is willing to help each other. So make friends, even if it's online and virtual.
Awesome. Thank you, Palik. Also, so we could streamline this a little easier, if you want to raise your hand, use the raise hand function. We can call on you much easier. And also, I skipped a question. I did not mean to. Any tips on applying for your first work-study job? So I don't really have tips on this because I sort of just kept coming by the transfer center until they hired me. But I think a lot of people in here have probably applied for work-study jobs and can definitely give advice.
I didn't have a work-study job per se, but I do have an on-campus job, and it was a little bit of a different process than what we're going to be seeing in the for this coming fall, since we're going to be online. So maybe just store this information in like the back of your head for next year, or if we do go back to on-campus in the future, which will happen one day. Am I frozen? Sorry.
You're good.
Oh, okay. They had a very big job fair at the beginning of the year during True Brew and Welcome Week, and through UCLA, and that's how I got my on-campus job, through event services. It was actually pretty easy and pretty fast. Kind of, you just showed up, and then right then and there I was hired. So I would say, if you like for that, that's kind of how I was seeing most of the people. It was kind of, you just interviewed right then and there, and more likely than not, people were just getting jobs left and right, kind of. That's kind of my tip.
That's cool. I wonder how they're going to do that now that we're online right now. I'm sure. Oh, here we go. Sarah's got it.
I can
Yeah, go ahead, Z.
Yeah, so I did do work study for about 2 years at UCLA. Usually the work study payment or financial aid disbursement is about $2,000 per year. But a lot of the employers at UCLA, they kind of go over that. So you don't have to worry about just being strict $2,000. A lot of the times they'll pay you more than $2,000. But just know that the $2,000 goes towards your financial aid. But if you go to my UCLA and you go to finances and jobs, there's a work study job search on there where employers at UCLA will be posting. So you can look on there. But I found my work study job on Facebook. So looking through the different Facebook departments also helps because they will post if they're hiring and they're looking for students to hire. So I would advise that as well.
Cool. Yeah. Also, Reggie put in the chat that he has a work study job, and it's pretty similar to a regular job process, which I actually agree with. I was recently on the panel, the hiring panel for the Transfer Student Center, and it felt basically, other than the group interview part of it, basically like applying for a regular job, which if you're doing right now, like me as an alumni, is a wonderful time of your life where you're trying to have 250 years of job experience, even though you're only 20 years old. So yeah, get a work study job because that networking that you're gonna make is gonna be vital in your future. Let's see. Yeah, you can, how does it work? Okay, so I'm getting ahead of myself because in my head, I'm answering all the chat questions and I'm not actually answering them out loud. So I'm gonna scroll up a little and make sure that I'm not missing any more. It looks like Sarah's really on top of answering all these questions. Appreciate you, Sarah. Some nice diversity classes to take. I recently took African American Studies, Reimagining Race, and it was a fantastic course. We talked about slavery and race and all kinds of issues surrounding race and reparations, and it was just an amazing class with amazing professor that I loved. But I'm definitely interested in knowing if anyone else has taken a good diversity class that you want to talk about, or if you know, no, nobody.
If no one's gonna talk about it, I'm a moderator, so I didn't introduce myself, but I'm Max. Hi, I'm a senior this year. I just took this African American Studies class, which is, I think the number is 188A, and it was really interesting, and I think it fulfilled the diversity requirement, but it was titled something like Intersectionality, Cardi B, and Respectability Politics, but it was super interesting. We talked a lot about pop culture and politics, respectability politics, and the professor formatted it kind of more like a seminar graduate level course. And he also invited some of his friends from grad school to speak with us about their experiences pursuing like PhDs, law degrees, things like that. He has like so many friends. So that was really, really cool to learn about that, but also like hear about all their experiences. Like, I think he was friends with the director of I think it's called the Bunch Public Policy Institute at UCLA, which I don't know how he made that many friends in grad school. But that was a really interesting course.
Cool, yeah, that sounds great. Anyone else have a great class that they took that they want to talk about? No? Okay, let's get to our next question. Okay, so the work study as an international student, I think, got answered. If not, I know that you can definitely be an international student and work on campus. I'm not sure about the work study requirement, but I do know that you can work on campus. Let's see what else. Man, you're so quick in the chat. I'm impressed with all of you. So we're current on our questions. So feel free to shout your question out when you unmute yourself. No, okay. You guys are shy. It's fine. I'm not shy, so I'll just keep asking questions to
I have
everyone.
a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
London. Okay. So, is there a chance that work study can be like canceled or something if there's like a failure to find a job by a certain deadline?
I don't think that it gets canceled if you don't find a job. I do know that you can contact financial aid and have that converted into a loan.
Okay, got it.
But you definitely don't lose it if you don't use it, kind of thing. It will stay there. My first year at UCLA, I had work study, but I was just finding my feet and I didn't work on campus. And so I didn't use it the whole year, but it never went away. It stayed right there.
Yeah, because as an incoming student, I have like no idea where to look, if you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And we can definitely talk more about where to find jobs. And I think they're going to do that job fair. And Sarah posted a link in the chat with some really great resources on finding a on-campus job.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for asking a question. I really appreciate that. Any great psychology classes or good professors in the field that have great research opportunities? Another great question. I am not a psychology major, but I know that there are some in here. Not Isabella's shaking her hand like, no, psychology scares her, and that's okay. That's all right. Anyone in here, a psychology major? How can we not have a psychology major? I'm embarrassed. I do know that there are a lot of great research opportunities. So what I suggest doing, this is what I did. In sociology, there's a lot of research opportunities as well. So I'm pretty sure that the rules are kind of the same. I asked every one of my professors, like, hey, I am just looking to get into research. If you have anything that you need help with, I emailed them. I went to office hours, and that's how I got on my first research project. And it was really fun. So I would say, talk to your professors, everyone that you have. If you like them, of course. If they give you bad vibes, you don't want to work with them. But if you like them, talk to them and say, hey, if you're doing research this summer or throughout the year, I would love to be involved in that and help in any way that I can. And a lot of times the professors will either tell you where to go to get research questions answered, or let you help with them.
I'm going to speak up again if no one else will. My roommate was a psych major, and she took this class called Intimate Relationships. I just stood up. It's like 137C, but I think it's a super popular class. And she loved it. And like every day after class, she would like come home and be like, guess what I learned today? And we would be like, no wonder my friend does this. Like, no wonder my boyfriend does that to me. So I think it was really interesting because it covers academic things, but you can also apply them to your personal relationships.
Cool. That sounds great. You said it was intimate relationships. Okay, cool.
I'm also not a psych major, but I was trying to get a class in the psych department, and there was this one, abnormal psychology. I heard it's a very good one. My mentor actually took it and he advised it to me to take, but it was so hard to take it as someone who's not a psych major, because psychology is an impacted major and everybody wants to take their classes. They're interesting. It's about human life. So I emailed the department to ask for permission, but the class was already closed until the time of my second pass. So if it's not your major, it's going to be kind of hard to take a psychology class, but it's definitely not impossible. I'm going to try it again next quarter. and it's called Abnormal Psychology. It's 127A.
Yeah. Also, a pro tip about enrolling in classes. If you don't get the classes you want the very first time you're enrolling in classes, like at your new student orientation, don't sweat that. Every time you pick classes from that moment on is much easier, and you know a lot more about what you're doing, and it's a lot more streamlined and easy. So if you hated it the first time you did it, that's totally normal. We all did. And it gets much easier, and we'll give you some more pro tips. Anyone else want to chime in about awesome psychology classes they've taken? Cool. All right, so how would one participate in research during the pandemic? You're gonna find that UCLA professors, especially ones involved in research, which is actually, I think, most of them, we're a very resilient group of people. And if there's a way to research, we find it. And so a lot of our research, at least the research that I participated in, was done reviewing documents and data that had already been collected. So a lot of that, you don't need to be in person to do that. And then you meet with your professor or your person on Zoom or FaceTime or through email, and you just discuss the things. So I think, in my humble opinion, participating in research during the pandemic isn't going to be much different than participating in it without the pandemic. So if you're into research, also we have all of our programming this week on Thursday is surrounded with research in mind. So it's a very heavily packed day with a ton of information on research and how to get involved, and it's going to be great. So meet us here on Thursday, and it'll be awesome. Tips on how to look for elective courses. I was really struggling during new student orientation. Yeah, so that's part of what I was saying. During new student, I can't speak English right now. Let me just collect myself for a second, take a sip of my Coke. There we go. Okay, during your new student orientation, looking for classes is really hard, mostly because 1, your NSAs are kind of in a hurry. 2, they don't really know you, so they don't know what you're really interested in. They just know from the couple of classes that you've been able to look at. So from here on out, it's going to get easier. What I do, or did, now that I'm alumni, I guess, and everyone I'm sure has an opinion on this, I went into my class planner as soon as you find out your new enrollment date, and a couple weeks before that, even a month, I went through and looked at a bunch of classes that I thought might be interesting. I clicked on them, I read all about them, looked on Bruin Walk, got all the tea on them, and then added them to my class planner if I thought that they were going to be fun or entertaining classes. And then I left them there, and as time goes on, you can see how quickly the classes fill up or if they don't. And then the very moment that my enrollment would open, I would hit the button to enroll in all those classes. And I always, another pro tip, always pick one more class than what I'm gonna take. So that way, if you get into a class, like let's say sociology of Ashley Toll, you get in there and you're like, oh my God, this is the most boring lecture I've ever been in. You want to be able to back out. So just have an extra class in there just in case one of your classes really sucks.
I want to say also use the Transfer Center on Facebook and use the search button. This question has been asked so many times that if you search for it, you'll have like a lot of classes that people are suggesting. So look into the ones that are suggested and see which one looks interesting to you. Go to my UCLA, read about it, go to my, my professor, Bruin Walk, and look into the professor, as Ashley said. So yeah, definitely use the Facebook page for that too.
Yeah. Yeah, anyone else? What are your tips on enrolling? How do you guys pick your classes? Word of mouth. I did use the word of mouth a lot too. If someone told me, if Isabella was like, oh my God, you've got to take this class, then I took it, or at least I tried to. So making it is also really good.
Sorry, Ashley.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
What I did is like I first talked to my departmental counselor because my major had like specific classes that were offered only during like summer. I mean, only during the spring, winter. So if you don't take it, you're gonna be like behind to graduate. Because also there is the elective special for your major. So you want to make sure you know what your major is, the requirement for it, because otherwise you might have like you might fall behind. And if the class is only offered once a year, you might graduate 1 year later. So you want to make sure to talk to your departmental counselor to know they will give you all the tips specific for your major. So make sure you know how to do that and you have kind of like a plan for the whole graduation, but don't stress a lot about it because it's never going to be perfect. But if there is a class that is offered one time, make sure to enroll in that.
Yeah, I would say, go ahead.
Also, like enroll in that one first, because if you don't enroll, you're going to graduate late. So the electives, you can change them. It's not like necessarily to take one elective. You can choose anyone. But if it's a major class, make sure to enroll in that first.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, become friends with your departmental advisor. My departmental advisor's name is Simbi, and she's the sociology departmental advisor, and she is absolutely amazing. She helped me every step of the way through UCLA. So I would say another really great piece of advice is to go meet your advisor, talk to them, get to know them, and or Zoom them rather, you know, hop in their office hours online. They're going to help you, and that's literally their only job, is to help you get through UCLA. So definitely do that. While I look through the chat, if you guys have any other pro tips on enrolling in classes, feel free to shout them out.
I was just gonna say about Bruin Walk. I personally do not look at it because I psych myself out, and I just realized this is a class at UCLA for some, like, for a reason. They would have taken it out if it's not really good. So I honestly, I just go for it, and it's worked out pretty well. I don't know if it's lucky, but I think that's just like a tip from me.
Yeah, I actually, you know what? I agree with that tip. I need to remind you that while we're all amazing, intelligent, super awesome Bruins, some of us type in Bruin Walk mean things because the class wasn't easy enough for them. So if you're looking for easy classes, let me just remind you, while they do exist, and we all want an easy A on occasion, UCLA is hard. It's a lot of work. You're gonna work your tail off. You didn't apply to the #1 public university to take the easy way out. So just try to remember that as you're, you know, posting on Facebook saying, can you please give me an easy class to take? Because, I mean, we're at UCLA. Everything is harder than your community college. I promise you that.
I'm also going to agree with Stephanie. I want to say like 2 of the classes that I took in the summer, I look in Bruin Walk and they seemed really easy. But when I took them, it was really hard just because they were trying to change the method. Since everything is online, they're trying to be creative with their methods of examining you. So just because it's online, I'm not going to rely on Bruin Walk anymore because professors are changing as everything is changing around us. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's see. I'm almost down. How do we find our departmental advisor? Funny you should ask. I found mine by Googling UCLA Sociology Departmental Advisor. I also, while making this Zoom, I wanted to know if there was a list of them anywhere where they're all together in the same place, and there's not. So I've started compiling that list, and hopefully we can get it published somewhere, probably on the Transfer Center page. But easiest thing to do is just Google it or look through your emails. Hopefully your department has emailed you at some point. This is fun. I hope you guys are having as much fun as I am. We've got about 20 minutes left. If you have anything else, any other questions, I know the chat, you guys have been so awesome in the chat. And everything is getting answered so quickly. It's pretty great. I will give you another pro tip. When the school opens up again and we can all be on campus, my favorite place to eat, okay? These are important things. So first of all, the best advice I can give you if you don't live on the hill is to be friends with someone who does live on the hill, because the food on the hill is delicious. The best food on campus is definitely on the hill. Go ahead, Steph. I saw you unmute. You could say something.
I was just going to say yes, because at the end, I've lived on the hill. It's going to be my 4th year, and I always have like 30, 40 extra swipes. And I'm just like, I'm telling everyone, let's go eat, let's go eat, let's go eat, because I don't want them to go to waste. So yes, take advantage of that.
And if you don't get up on the hill, or if you don't live on the hill and you need your exercise, you walk up the hill. By the time you get up there, you're exhausted. At least I was. Then you eat, and then you walk back down the hill, burning off a lot of those calories. It's pretty fun. So it's a great way to get exercise and eat at the same time. Also, we haven't talked about studying abroad, but studying abroad was the best decision I made at UCLA, hands down. And I work in the Transfer Student Center that I'm obsessed with and I absolutely love. Studying abroad was a better decision than that. I went to Spain personally. It was wonderful. I went during the summer. I spent a month in Spain. We even took a weekend trip to Morocco. If you don't know where Morocco is, it's on the northern coast of Africa. Amazing. We had so much fun. I got to study my Spanish, and I met people, including Steph, who have become my amazing friends and a huge part of my life. So if you're debating it and you're sitting here like, oh, I only have 6 quarters, do I really want to give one up to go to another country? You do. It's awesome. Please do it. Anyone else have any other pro tips that they want to give out?
I want to ask something.
Yeah.
Isn't the study, wait, first of all, I want to say something about the food, because I'm living on the hill for the summer, and honestly, they're not going to have, I don't know where you've been, like maybe you're not like in the loop or don't know exactly what's going on, but they do not have hardly any. By the way, would you say your favorite food was on the hill, you said, Ashley?
Well, anywhere on the hill minus B plate was,
Yours favorite was B plate?
No, my least favorite was B plate.
Oh, that's my most favorite. I love their veggies. Well, maybe you're not a vegetable person, but anyways, yeah, no, what I was gonna say is it kind of sucks that B plate is not gonna be open. That's my favorite place, and they're just gonna have Deneuve and Beat Cafe. The Bruin Cafe and Deneuve, those are the only places they're gonna have open. Thank God they're gonna have BCAF, because I really miss the smoothies, and plus they're open until midnight. But yeah, so I was just trying to update you guys on that, because I didn't want anyone to get their hopes up thinking that like they're gonna have all that variety, like going to Ronde and the study and all these places. Man, I feel so terrible that they have to be closed because they just aren't able to use all those facilities, and they're kind of like not like, there's only like, I think they told me 700 students in the fall are going to live here. It's way below normal capacity, and so it's going to be pretty abnormal. But anyways, my question about the study abroad is, how much was that? Like, did it cost a lot? Or people talked about it and scholarships, but how many people even really get good financial assistance with it, and did you?
So, great question. I want to address the first part. I know everyone loves B plate. I like my food with seasoning on it, so I didn't go to B plate very often. But the Deneuve is also delicious, so eat there. And remember that right now during the pandemic, things are different, but UCLA will recover, and hopefully, fingers crossed, this pandemic is over and things can return back to normal, and we can go all meet in B plate for some roasted almost potatoes. Second, for financial aid for studying abroad, I personally got financial aid for studying abroad, and it covered it. I went on and on my FAFSA, I selected summer programs that I wanted to be enrolled in summer, whatever that little box is, and financial aid covered it for me. And that helped offset the cost there. And then everything that we did while we were in Spain, other than, souvenirs that I bought and t-shirts, was pretty reasonably priced. I didn't spend too much money, and it was great. Still the best decision, hands down. And financial aid does cover it.
Wait, did you do the summer travel study or did you do it during the academic year?
Yeah, I went during the summer.
Yeah, that's travel study. And I'm saying that thing costs that has a huge, really expensive program fee of like $7,000 or so. I mean, it's 7,000 or roughly. It's really high. And honestly, the only two grants I get that are not loans are during the summer are the university grant and the Pell Grant, and I swear that barely covers enough for 12 units and housing. It covered all my housing, but that's because I get a discount through BGS, the Bruin Guardian Scholars, because I'm a former foster youth. I don't know if you guys have talked about that today, but I kind of haven't been available to do these meetings all day because I'm trying to move out into my new dorm because I got a switch. So yeah, I just I swear that I don't think it's gonna cover it a lot. Like, did you get loans or did you get gift aid?
I can talk about study abroad. I was supposed to study abroad this fall, but that was obviously canceled. But I still went through the process of applying for scholarships and financing because that was the plan. And so we went through the process of all of that. And so the academic, you can either do quarter programs or semester programs. For us at UCLA, semester would be just for the fall, and then quarter would be either the spring or in winter, or you could do even a year long if you wanted. And I will say that the semester is what I was going to be doing, and it is definitely, I would say it's not any more expensive than the amount that a tuition, the full tuition for let's say, I don't know, because this was a semester one, so it was on semester price, but it is kind of just around the same amount that you're paying for your quarter, other than you do have the airfare part, which can be some of the most expensive parts of it. But through hard work, through scholarships, I remember during the winter I was left and right filling out scholarships, and so you kind of just have to really put in the work if you know that you're going to need to make sure that you have outside funding to make sure to cover it. Otherwise, it can get a little pricey, but it's definitely something that I would suggest doing. I wish I could do it.
I was asking Ashley about the summer one because I'm saying the summer one because if it's during the fall, then that's different. But I'm saying the summer is the one time that would seem the most feasible for a lot of people, and yet that seems to be the hardest one to get good gift aid for because they do have limited scholarships at the International Studies Office, and it's just so limited. It's just the criteria it's kind of difficult to get that kind of scholarship, and I just want to know how do everyone talks about how they did it so affordably, and I'm just how in the heck does everyone do it so affordably without getting loans? Ashley, did you get it? You didn't take out loans, did you?
For study abroad, no, I didn't take out loans, but my financial aid did cover the cost of the program. And did
you get a scholarship?
Yeah, I do have a scholarship, but not for study abroad. But the main part, the tuition, which is obviously the most expensive part, was covered completely by my financial aid. And then I had a job and worked, and that was the money that I used to, to go through Spain. But I would say
the cost of attendance, like the COA, is roughly about $10,000. I mean, they have the program fee, which covers the cost of the classes. Then you have your airfare. I'm saying, like, how were you able to get like all of that stuff covered for free without paying out of pocket? Or you did have to pay out of pocket? I just want to understand, like, how did that happen?
I can jump in a little. I also studied abroad in the summer, and I know the amount of money you get depends on the unit. So I did not get everything covered. I did pay money out of pocket. Oh, if you want numbers, I paid like $5,000 out of pocket.
That's a lot, dude. No offense. I mean, that's that's a lot to me. Like, a 5,000 is like a lot of money.
Yeah, but I know people got around that because they took other classes online. So it depends on the unit. So like I think I took, I don't know how many of the units, I think it was like 12 units, and it wasn't enough to be a full-time student, which is why I didn't get everything covered. But if I had taken an online class and still studied abroad, which is kind of just what you're able to manage, you'd be able to get more money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I took online classes with the first session and the last session when I got back.
Which is why everything was pretty much covered for everything. Yeah.
Wait, financial aid, that thing said they only cover financial aid. We're talking about strictly summer, right? They only give financial aid for either summer sessions or travel study, not both. You have to indicate on your financial aid form which of the two you're going to do. They said they only pay for one kind of classes. So how did you get to do summer sessions, which is on campus, and get covered for the travel study? And you guys keep calling it study abroad, but actually this program that Ashley's referring to is travel study. It's different because it takes place during the summer. It's not exactly study abroad, but you could think of it as a type of study abroad program. But that's the one that's like the most convenient and feasible for many people, but it's like kind of the most expensive compared to, because just the overall generosity of financial aid to give us grant money for summer is just generally lower compared to the rest of the school year.
Yeah, so I definitely got covered on my financial aid, but just for the sake of time, let's connect outside of this. Just put your email in the chat, and we'll move on to the next couple of questions because we've only got about 10 minutes left, and I just want to make sure that we are mindful of everyone that's in here. But yeah, I still suggest traveling abroad, doing whatever you can. Let's get back to the chat. Let's see. Lots of talk about FAFSA. If you're not in the chat, you should check it out. Best places to study. I like the Transfer Center. I like studying in the Transfer Center, or on the hill. Not on the hill like the hill, but like on the hill next to the Tongva Steps. If you just go there and pick a shady spot and sit down in the grass, it's a really great spot. Let's see, other questions. Some email questions in here about taking off the G or leaving the G.
I heard it was the same if you take it off or...
Yeah, that's true. It works both ways. I always leave it off just to be shorter, but it does work with both.
Yeah, also, if you don't know, the entire UCLA campus is on a hill. You're going up a hill both ways, just hills everywhere. Yeah. Let's see, there's a question about taking two psych classes, 100A and 133F, plus biochemistry for my first quarter. Would that be too difficult? So I'm a Soc major, so I'm just gonna say that reading that was too difficult for me, but just kidding. What I really mean is the best advice that I've ever been given as far as like prepping for classes and taking classes is you take what's comfortable for you. So if you want to stay fully enrolled, full-time enrolled, that's 12 units. So I always would register for more units, and then if I felt like the course load was too difficult once I got the syllabus and met the professor, then it's easy to judge it from there. But if you take 3 classes and you get straight A's, the following quarter take 4 classes if that's something that you want to do. But Palik or Josue, Reggie, if you guys want to chime in on the
Yes, definitely.
the biochem.
So I was also scared of taking biochem because I know it's hard. It's like you feel challenged to take it, but I want to say it wasn't that hard. If you've taken OChem, for me, that one was harder than biochem. Biochem was more fun, and it's more like memorizing. And since we're online, it's not going to be like questions about memorization, but it will be kind of different kind of challenge. It will be, for example, a hypothetical question. If you have this drug and you're trying to make, for example, if you have a bacteria that does this is the characteristic, what drug would make it less effective, and like just creative stuff. So you want to make sure that you are understanding. Since we are online, they're not going to test you on memorization things because you can just have your notes by you. So it will be different because everything's online again. So I took it online, and it was actually a really fun, challenging class, but definitely doable. But to come back to the question for if you want to take it during your first quarter, I would suggest looking on like what's the next class that you want to take. If that's a prerequisite for the next class, then take it. If not, you can leave it for next quarter because you don't want to overload yourself during your first quarter. So that's my advice.
Yeah, I like that advice. Any of the other STEMers want to hop in there?
I can add something.
Yeah, Josue, Magic Man.
So,
Let's hear it, buddy.
thank you. So usually people take like 2 STEM classes during the first quarter and 1 upper division from other department. And this is because you are getting used to the quarter system. And also this time might be even better because you need to adjust also to the online environment because not all the professors are the same. Like I remember early in the morning, like the English department, they don't have midterms or finals, they have like a paper. But for STEM classes, we have like 2 midterms and then a final for some classes. So you have like a midterm at week 3, week 7, 8, and then a final. So maybe like during the first quarter, you might want to just take 2 STEM major classes, or also like maybe 3, like yeah, that's even like just pushing it. So maybe like 2 or 3 classes at the most. But if you think that you can handle more after that, that would be better. Maybe you're during your winter or fall quarters.
Yeah, that's good advice. I will say from the outside looking in, when I worked with Josue, I felt like he was always about to take a test. So every week there's a test in the STEM classes. I mean, that's what it felt like to me. But as a sociology major, I just want to tell you, I saw it in the chat. Prepare yourself for a lot of reading. It's a lot of reading. It's fun reading, in my opinion, if you're interested in what you're studying. Also, if you are looking for classes, what I always did to make things fun and interesting is I would take my two classes that were required and then take 1 class that wasn't necessarily required, maybe like an elective, but in a different field that I was interested in. You know, African American studies, history, political science, communications, whatever else, anthropology, biology. Full confession, I never took a biology class, but yeah, just something else to keep your mind excited.
Also, we are a research institution, so you will be reading a lot of research papers. So get used to that habit of understanding how to read, not only understanding the paper, but understanding on like how to skim through it very quickly, how to look into the graphics, how to understand the graphics. A lot of professors if you're a South major, you'll have a lot of like analyzing graphics. Make sure you know how to do that. If you don't, I'm sure you can ask your TAs. Use your TAs. I don't know if we talked about this, but TAs are just like your friends. ask them, be like close to them. Professors sometimes might be too busy, but go to office hours and go to your office hours out of your, I can't speak again, go to the office hours of your TAs as well, like utilize as much as possible. And I also want to say, like, for me, the online version was kind of easier to go to office hours just because I was commuting, and sometimes the time conflict of like the office hours they had wasn't like really matching with my time. I had to like make sure I'm not stuck in traffic and this and that. But now since everything is online, I just log in, office hour, there you go. So use that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. And I just want to be cognizant of time. It's 5 o'clock. If any of you need to leave, you're more than happy to leave. Personally, I'm enjoying this. I'm going to stay on. I'll keep answering questions. But if I invited you here and you would like to leave, you're totally free from your obligation of repaying a favor to me. So feel free to stay or leave. As far as your question, Kevin, I agree with Katie. It totally depends on the professors. If your exam is going to be multiple choice or more essays, I've had professors that give 2 essay questions and that's your whole final or your whole midterm. And then I've had professors that are like, here's 30 multiple choice questions, and they dribble in some trickery where there's just one word that's different in the answer. So it just varies on your professor. But I agree with Palik that some of the best advice that you can have is to be a good human. That includes being a good human to your TAs and to your professors. The professors, they have office hours for 2 reasons. 1, because they have to, and 2, because they care about you and your education. So if you fail a class, your professor is gonna hear about that, and they don't want you to fail. So if you go to office hours and you're just honest with your teacher, your professor, and you're like, hey, I have no idea why I'm here, but Ashley told me that I should come to office hours and get to know you, they'll appreciate that. I mean, we just met with a professor around noon, and she made the cake in the mug. If you guys watched that or not, I don't know if you did, but if you did, she said multiple times, hey, I appreciate when students come to my office hours and they just say, I don't know why I'm here, but I know I need to talk to you and you need to see my face and get to know me. So that definitely helps. Also, your TAs, they're students as well, and their job is to help you. So some of them suck, full disclosure, but some of them are really good, and they'll help you as much as they can. So just talk to them, talk to everybody, make friends. Talk to everyone in your classes as well. I mean, you're all there doing the exact same thing. Does anyone have any advice about Physics 5A with Professor Tung? I don't know how to say that. I've never had Physics 5A, so I can't answer that question, but if anyone else does, go for it. Any other questions that you have?
I didn't take physics with Tung, but I took it with Sakai last fall. In terms of like the rigor for the exams, I felt like the material provided, which was like clicker questions, the example problems through lecture, the discussion worksheets really complemented the exams. It was like sometimes I would come across questions on exam that were kind of like similar to what was done in clicker questions. So honestly, by me just doing the discussion and lecture and practice problems again, and then also the LAs for 5A had hosted their own review sessions, that was so much more helpful than probably just like self-studying for the class. So just doing all that got me a good grade in that class. But I heard good reviews for Tung as well.
Cool. Yeah, any other physics people that want to talk about 5A? Risa, I can see that you're talking, but I can't hear you. I don't know if other people can hear you. Fun fact about Risa, she's in Sweden right now.
How did you know?
I heard coronavirus is not strict over there, so are you enjoying your life like normal?
Living my life, yes.
I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, it's hard to hear you. You might need to yell at us.
Wait, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah,
Better.
Okay,
better.
awesome. Yes. To answer your question, Blake, I am living my life here. It's good. What I was saying was to bounce off what Reggie said about Sakai. I also took her during fall last year. And one thing in particular that I found helpful with her specifically was that she held office hours often before class. So you could straight up ask questions from the homework. That's also kind of administered online. And she would do it step by step with you. And so I'm sure she's not the only person that does that either. So I guess that really helps to have a one-on-one kind of professor and student interaction in smaller groups was really helpful for me.
Cool. I want to answer the question about managing lots of readings. So what I did to manage all my readings, because I'm talking a solid couple of 100 pages every week in readings. First, figuring out good reading habits, skimming, all of that, figuring that out is a good idea. But also, I write all my readings down, how many pages, what book, all of that on a calendar. And so every day I have to do some of the readings, even if, I'm doing Thursday's readings on Monday. I would do some of the readings, and the whole time you're doing readings, I would just make little notes in the margin of the reading, or if you don't own the book, on a separate piece of paper. That way I had reminders of what the reading was about, and I could go back. And after you thoroughly read it once, you can make little notes to remind yourself about the readings. And I would suggest, because you're in the quarter system now and you only have 10 weeks, you don't have 4 weeks to do your readings anymore. You have to keep on with it, or else you're going to be the night before your midterm literally reading all night, and then it's impossible to really focus on that. So I would say the best thing is to get a group of people together, you all do the readings, and then you all talk about the readings, or you get someone in your life, your roommate, your friend, whoever, and you read the readings, and then you explain to them what's in the readings, because when you talk about it, it helps you to process it and keep it in your brain more. If you can explain something, you can teach it, and if you can teach it, you've learned it, if that makes sense. Anything else? Yeah, Josue says make Zoom study groups to keep each other accountable. Keeping each other accountable is the key to success in school. Having someone that's texts you Tuesday 15 minutes before your assignment and says, hey, did you do your assignment? That's not really accountability. It's more like calling you out 15 minutes before it's due. But if you have a friend that's hey, we have an assignment due on Thursday, what are you doing on Tuesday? Let's set up a Zoom room and do our homework together so we can answer each other's questions. That really helps. It's a good way to learn. Melissa is a sociology major. I'm so excited for you, Melissa. I love sociology, or I wouldn't have majored in it. But if you have any questions, Katie, yeah, we're all sociology majors.
I was going to give my...
What? Go ahead.
Sorry, Ashley. I was going to give my advice, being a South campus, our readings are not long as the North campus, it's not 100 page, 200 page. But what I did for my research papers, I used to read it very quickly once, just have an idea about what it is about, and then go and start annotating and taking notes and things like that. But it depends on your major. Since you're a sociology major, I would follow Ashley's advice.
Yeah, I will say, just try not to get overwhelmed. Try not to see that you have 15 readings assigned and then think, oh my God, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this, and then just put it off and put it off. The earlier you tackle it, the better you'll feel. And the more you start reading, sometimes you'll see that the readings will repeat themselves. It'll be a different person writing about the exact same theory or the exact same article. And it's super easy to get it all together once you've read one of them. Let's see, let's check the chat again. Get on the readings. Yeah, I've definitely, I mean, procrastination is a prerequisite to college, right? We've all procrastinated. It's like, you have to do it. Just try not to. How do you make friends in your classes? Okay, I'm gonna tell, this is my favorite subject because I am very awkward and sometimes goofy, but I can give you pro tips on making friends. So when you have classes in person, I do this thing where I'm really letting my secrets out this week, but I do this thing where I'll go find someone that looks interesting, hopefully in the first 2 or 3 rows. The best people in the class are going to be in the first 2 or 3 rows. I find that they're the most prepared people. The tiredest people are towards the back of the room. So go up to the first 3 rows or so, and you find someone that's interesting, and then you sit next to them and you pretend that you have no idea if you're in the right classroom or not. You're like, oh my gosh, I hope I'm in the right classroom. I'm sorry, can you tell me, is this physics 5? And then they're like, oh yeah, this is physics 5. Oh, cool, I'm in the right room. And then the next day, you sit next to them again, and bam, you're friends, right? Do that. Or, other pro tip, bring donuts to class. Oh my gosh, I have these donuts. Do you want a donut? I can't eat a whole dozen donuts by myself. And then you just pass the donuts around. I've done that too. If you've ever been in any of my classes, you've either gotten food from me, or I sat next to you awkwardly and asked you if I was in the class with you. It happens, but it's a good way to make friends. Also, the Transfer Center does a lot of events. A lot of them are online right now, but the Transfer Center is a good place to make friends. Same with UCLA Athletics, which unfortunately you can't really go to UCLA Athletics right now, but when you can, good place. Palit, do you have advice on making friends?
Yes. So I made my best friend during like a session. It was in the anatomy class. So I offered to like study together, and we actually studied together for the exam next day. I just said like, do you want to study? I need an accountability buddy, and we became best friends. And for the first 3 rows, tip, I would say you see who's like typing questions to the professor in the chat, because those are going to be the first 3 rows.
Yeah, I agree.
Online.
I agree, yeah. Also, when I studied abroad or didn't study abroad, whatever the consensus is on if I really did that or not, I made friends during that time because you're stuck in a dorm with a bunch of people that you don't really know. So Steph was in the dorm across the hall from me, and we would be in groups, and I would just sort of like wander over to her and be like, hey, we're friends now, just gonna follow you.
I felt bad and invited her to eat with me, but it worked out.
See, I'm a sympathy friend, but now we're like besties, so it worked. And then getting involved. USAC is a great thing to be involved in. You meet a lot of people, you make a lot of friends. They have, I don't know if they're doing intramural sports this year because of COVID, but that was a good place to meet friends. Also just walking around on campus, but right now with COVID, making friends online. I'm not very good online, so I don't know about making friends online, but I agree, just talking in the chat and messaging people in your classes, that'll be fun. Yeah, and joining things like clubs. There are a couple of clubs that that I joined and I made great friends in. Bruin Democrats, if you're a Democrat, that was fun. I'm realizing now that maybe I shouldn't talk about them because all of my clubs are sort of political, and I don't want to just shove my political opinions down your throat. The Transfer Center has openings for volunteers. You can be a volunteer in the Transfer Center, I think, but as far as hiring, no, the Transfer Center doesn't currently have any openings. We just hired staff for the year, but we'll definitely be looking for more Transfer Center volunteers, and you'll be able to get involved that way. Let's see. Yeah, they
Can I
take.
can I say something about the volunteering at the transfer center?
Yeah,
Also, like it's a pretty cool experience because you meet people from all like from South Campus and our campus. Also, I think that's one of the ways I met Palik. Also, like she was in the transfer center. Also, like a lot of people from my different classes, they were also the transfer center. So hey, I said like, hey, we are just taking the same class, so let's study together or something like that. And also like what works is like posting on Facebook or maybe even on Reddit, like, hey, who's taking this class, or do you want to study together, hit me up or something like that. That has really helped me. Also, I met like one of my best friends like through the secret, like the UCLA secrets page. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, so like I think a lot of people like right now are creating group meets because in every class I have taken, people say like, hey, here's the group me link and then join this one. And that's how also I met some people. So that's how one of the ways you can also meet people.
yeah, I agree. I love the UCLA secrets page. If you don't follow that, you should do that for sure. It's awesome. And humble brag, I was posted about on UCLA secrets one time. Try to find me if you haven't already. But let's check the chat again. I see there's a little number 4. Thank you everyone for coming. I know a lot of people are leaving right now. Again, if you want to leave, you're totally free to. If you have more questions, there's a smaller group of people here. You can just unmute yourself and shout it out, or feel free to continue to use the chat. Yeah, we can, either way, it's a solid opportunity to talk. Also, if you're looking to make your first friend at UCLA, hi, I'm Ashley. I'd be happy to be your friend. I'm on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. The UCLA Secrets page is literally called UCLA Secrets, right? I think so. Yeah, yes, UCLA Secrets, yeah. It's pretty awesome. So you've gotta check it out. Sometimes you are reading it and your mouth falls open. You're like, and then you screenshot it and you send it to your friend. You're like, check this out.
I think it's anonymous.
Yeah, it is anonymous, but it's not really anonymous. I mean, it is, but you guess who the people are. You know, at least I tried to. Cool. Also, UCLA memes page is fun and entertaining as well. And then when campus opens again and you can go to some athletic events, I highly, highly, highly recommend getting a Den pass and being a part of that group. Being in the Den is an experience like none other. And as an alumni, I made a friend who's going to get me in the student area again next year. So yeah. Oh, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna remind everyone to get your flu shots because that's mandatory. You can schedule that appointment on my UCLA under Ash portal.
Yeah. Get your flu shot. Please, don't get the flu. Don't get the flu. Don't get COVID. Wear a mask. Don't be a jerk. Rules for life, right there.
I got a quick question for you, Ashley, because you're apparently the host. What school did you transfer? Like where are you from, like originally?
Where am I from originally, or where did I so?
Oh well, okay, both, I guess.
Okay, so I am originally from Chicago. I actually grew up in a small town outside of Chicago in Indiana, but it's much easier to just say Chicago. And then I moved to Las Vegas, where I spent about a decade of my life working. And then I moved to Southern California, location undisclosed, and attended UCLA. I transferred from El Camino Community College in Torrance, California.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know where that college is. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I just like to get to know, and Plus, I noticed you do have an accent. Like, I thought initially when I heard you, I thought you were from like maybe Detroit, Michigan, but I guess I was off by a few states.
Yeah, I didn't know that I had an accent.
Yeah, you totally do. Like, it's like, you know, the Midwest accent that like everybody likes to make fun of. That's kind of why I was curious to know where you were from.
Cool. No one has ever attempted to make fun of my accent in person, so
It sounds
welcome
it
that.
sounds worse when you hear accents on TV, like people who live there. But if you live in a different place, like your accent changes a little bit, so it's maybe doesn't sound as funny anymore. But like, yeah, I just think people from the Midwest have a funny accent. I mean, I know people from that area are really nice. I'm not trying to say nothing mean. I know y'all are really nice people, but just saying, like, and I heard people are friendly out there. I'm just saying the accent's just really funny.
I'm not sure if that's true, if people are friendly out there.
That's just what people say, like people in Minnesota or people from Iowa, or you know, those areas are more friendly or more nice. I don't know if it's true. I just heard that they're more nice compared to, like, you know, the East Coast or whatever. Like people in the East Coast are more somehow are said to be more rude or something. I don't know. I haven't been to the East Coast, but I'm just saying, like, that's just a stereotype I heard. I don't know if it's true necessarily, but like it kind of makes me feel slightly offended when I hear people say that, because it makes it sound like people from LA are not nice. I mean, like, yeah, but you know, I think LA is so diverse, but I like to know where people are from. It's so
Okay.
cool that like there's people from all different states and countries come to UCLA. That's so cool, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
That's because
Right.
UCLA is number one.
Yes.
Don't forget that.
Number one.
Oh, of course I don't forget that. But like, yeah, I don't know how they determine those rankings, but
they do. We don't have to know. We just have to know we are number one.
Yeah, it's science.
Okay.
One of our STEM people could probably explain it to us better. But if anyone has any other questions about being at UCLA or academics, advising, sports, Chicago, me, I'm happy to answer any of your questions. Also, you can find me on Facebook or in the Instagram or like on the chat regarding this event all week, and I'd be happy to answer any of your other questions. Also, tomorrow is a great program, has a great program lineup that's all about student orgs. Yeah, student orgs all day. And tomorrow at 10 a.m., meet with me and Carlos in this corner and Reggie in this corner and maybe Josue and Palik and whoever else wants to join us for morning tea with the TT team. Starts at 10 a.m. We stream live on Facebook, and you can hop on there and talk to us and ask us questions and drink tea with us in the morning, because we've all just rolled out of bed and we're excited to be alive. So feel free to join us. And with that, I'm going to conclude today's broadcast here. Let me just turn off my virtual background so I can see my hands again, because I don't know why, but it's very weird for me to not see my hands.
Oh, I noticed they're making a recording of this. Where are they going to post the recording to?
We're going to post the recording on YouTube. But
Yeah.
Go ahead, Reggie.
I was saying we're planning to either or maybe all post it either on YouTube, maybe in a joint place on the UCLA Transfer Facebook page, or on the TSR Students, the website that we have. So yeah, we'll make all this information available. We'll make a post of where we plan to put all these posts Video.
Are all of these meetings like recorded and stuff?
Yes, correct.
Because I didn't go to any of the earlier workshops because I was kind of busy trying to like move my stuff from my summer dorm to my fall dorm.
Oh yeah, you're all good. We recorded every session, so those will be made available either coming later this week or earlier next week as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. And thank you all for joining us. Have a great day.